Hello everyone, welcome back to again grade 11 students. Today start physical education class. So dear students, continue. Last day started chapter number 8, function and anatomy and physiology in kinesiology. This chapter name, and our topic is the main function of skeletal system, classification of bones. So last day we will discuss is the only for meaning of anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, and importance of anatomy, physiology and kinesiology. So today we will discuss is the main functions of skeletal system, classification of bones and joints. So firstly we will discuss is the main function of skeletal system. So main is the skeletal system consists of bones, joints and cartilages and connective tissues. So human skeletal system is made up of 213 bones in children and 206 bones in adults. These bones differ in shape and size. These bones are joined together by ligaments. Bones provide support and protection to the delicate organs of our body like heart, lungs, brain and spinal column extra. So some of the bones act as levers in our body. So main functions of skeletal system is the main. First is provide support. Second is give shape of body. Third is provide protection. Fourth is movement. Fifth is storehouse. Sixth is manufacture of blood cells. Seventh is repair items. Eighth is act as lever. This is the main skeletal system and functions of skeletal system. So I will explain all functions of skeletal system. First is provide support. The skeletal system provides a frame for body and gives a particular structure and shape and height of the body. So it provides surface for the attachment of muscles, tendons and ligaments. This is the main provide sports function of skeletal system. First is provide sports. Second is the give shape of body. So give shape of body is the main. Skeletons give shape to the body. The height and structure of body depends upon shape and length of bones. This is the give shape of the body. So third point is provide protection. So provide protection is the main. It provides protection to the delicate organs of our body. Okay, and like especially brain, heart, lungs and spinal cord. This is the main provide protection. Next is the movement. So movement related especially skeletal serve as lever which is activated by the muscles attached to them and allows movement of the body. These helps in doing work easily. Any work for physical activity, yeah, any other work at home, gardening, walking, any sports activity also. Okay, so main is the provide work. Okay, next is the storehouses. Storehouse, it means bones are the storehouse of important minerals and salts like potassium, iron and calcium extra. So in case there is difficulty of calcium in the bone, these bones release calcium. Okay, so next is the manufacture of blood cells. So manufacture of blood cells, bones are capable of manufacturing of RBCs, red blood cells and in blood, red blood cells in blood, and RBC production takes place in bone marrow. So bone marrow is found in the center of long bones. Okay, so after this next is the repair itself. Repair itself, bones are capable of doing self repair whenever they are damaged. This is the main repair itself. Last is the act as lever. So act as lever, bounce as lever in our body. These helps to do work easily and provide movements. This is the act as lever. Next is the classification of bounds. So classification of bounds related is the main. So classification of bounds, main first is the long bound. Long bones. So long bones, especially the long bones, are found mainly in the upper and lower limbs. These bones act as lever in our body and help in making movement possible. So long bones such as humerus and femurs. It means consist of a shaft and two extremities each. So only due to their length, these are called long bones. Okay. So this is long bones. Next is the second type is short bone. Long bones is the especially our legs, arms. This is the long bones. Short bones, these bones are short in length, hence they are called short bones. For example, calves and trusses are called short bones. For example, hands. Okay, this is the short bones. So these bones are light in weight but are strong. These bones are made of cancellous bone tissues. These bones are covered with compact tissues. They help in extreme force. Okay, so next is the flat bones. Flat bones. So flat bone, this is especially usually these bones are found where protection is required, such as the bone of scalpel and ribs. There is always a large surface on flat bones for the attachment of muscles. Okay. Next is the irregular bone. Irregular. Irregular bones, especially these bones, have a peculiar shape, so these bones cannot be grafted under any preceding heads. A vertebra is a good example of these bones. Some bones of face are also including under this head. Next is the sesame bone. So these bones are small, round bones shaped like the seeds of sesame, ya patelia, knees, fingers, and thumb bones are examples of sesamoid bones. These the unique structure of a sesamoid bone works to protect the tendons and helps in mechanical functions. Okay, this is the main types of bone. Next is the human structure. So human structure is the letter. The human structure consists of 206 bones out of them. So some are long, some are small, some are flat, and some are shapeless. For convenience of study, they can divided mainly into two parts. First is the axis scattered, second is the appendicular scattered. So main first is the axis scattered. Axis scattered compares skill, vertebral column, rib, facial bones, extra. The axial skeletal is made up to 80 bones. It means skull bones. This is 8. Facial bones 14. Ear bones 6. Back bones 26. Rib case 25 and hyoid bone, this is 1. After this, next is the main appendicular skeletal. Appendicular skeletal is the appendicular skeletal includes the bones of the upper and lower extremities like the arms, legs, and the bones of the shoulders and hips, which attach the bone of the extremes to the axial skeleton. This consists of 120 bones. These parts can be studied under two parts. First is the bone of upper extremities. This is the main. In the upper region of the bone, the number of bones is 64. It includes bone of shoulder, wrist and hand. The first is the clavicle bone, 2, scapula 2, humerus 2, radius 2, ulna 2, carpal bones 16, metacarpal bone 10, phalanges 28. This types of bones. Okay, so next is the main second point is bone of the lower limb. The bone of lower region are joined to the trunk by means of pelvic grid. The lower region has 62 bones. First is the innovation bone, it means hip bones is 2, femur bones 2, tibia 2, fibula 2, patella 2, tarsal bone 14, metatarsal bones 10, phalanx 28. This types of bones. So joints, after this next is the joints. So when two or more bones are jointed, their unique is called a joint. Okay, next point is joint. So joint is the main. When two or more bones are joined, their unique is called a joint. The study is called arthrosy. In joints, the bones are separated by thin membranes, connectives, tissues, and the freely moving joints are completely separated. Main classification of joints is the main. First is joints are classified according to the capability of movement and their structural compositions. So according joints may be classified as follows. So first is the immovable joints. So immovable joints later, in such joints bones are actually jointed together. They do not have any cartilage between them and are incapability of moving on each other. So an example of such joints are joints in the skull, facial joints, except for the medieval joints. These joints are called fibrous joints. Second is the slight movable joints. These are cartilaginous joints. In these joints, the surface of bones is separated by some intervening substances. The movement of such joints is very limited. The example of the slightly movable joints are the joint of ribs and spine. Third is the freely movable joints. Freely movable joints is the in all these freely movable or synovial joint, the joint is filled with synovial filled, which acts as gracing angle to provide slippery surface of joint. So further, these joints are covered by thin membranes called synovia membria. These synovial joints are again of various types. Okay, so after this, next type is the freely movable joints are further classification into 6 categories. First is hinge joint, second is ball and socket joints, third is pivot joints, fourth is gliding joint, fifth is saddle joint, and sixth is condyloid joint. So I explain all. First is hinge joints. So hinge joints permits angle movement is one direction, like a door or its hinge. So these types of joints permit only flexion and extension as in the allow joints, knees joints and phalanx in the fingers. Okay, so next is the ball and socket joints. So ball and socket joints related, the ball shaped end of one bone fit into a cup. So shape socket on the other bone. This type of joints allows widest range of motion including rotation. So shoulders joint and hip joints are the ball and socket joint. Next is the pivot joints. Pivot joints permits rotatory movements in one axis. The movement is caused by a pivot-like structure or ring made of bone and cartilage rotating around an axis. Example of pivot joint is the head rotating on the atlas in the neck. Next is gliding joint. In such a joint, the flat surface of bone glide over each others. So joints between the bones of trusses, ankles and wrists are example of such joints. Next is saddle joints. These joints permit a great freedom of movement. For example, joint of thumb, it enables the thumb to oppose the fingers. Next is condyle joint. These joints allow an angle movement in two difference. For example, wrist joint, movement of the joint include flexion, extension, adduction, abduction and circumductions but no rotation. This is the condyle joints. So dear students, this is the free movable joints are further classification into 6 categories. All are explained. So I hope you will understand this topic, functions of scattered system, classification of bones and joints. So any student doubtful related this topic, please send message me. I explain all. Okay, so I give again explain only main topic. The function of scattered system is the first is provide sports. So provide sports related. This type of functions is the providing sports. Functions of scatter system. Our body provides sports every time. Thus, scatter system provides a frame for body and gives a particular structure, shape and height of the body. It provides surface for the attachment of muscles, tendons and ligaments. Next is the give shape of body. So especially functions of skeletal system related. Skeletal give shape to the body. The height and structure of bones depends upon shape and length of bones. Third is the provide protection. It provide protections to the delicate organs of our body like brain, heart, lungs and spinal cord. Fourth is the movement. So skeletal serves as lever which is activated by the muscles attached to them and allows movement of the body. These help in doing work easily. Next is storehouse. Bones are the storehouse of important minerals and salts like potassium, iron and calcium extra. In case there is difficulty of calcium in the body, these bones release calcium. Next is the manufacturers of blood cells. Manufacturers of blood cells related. Bones are capable of manufacturing of RBCs. Red blood cells is blood in blood. So RBC production takes place in bone marrow. Bone marrow is found in the center of long bones. Next is repair itself. So repair itself is related. Bones are capable of doing self-repair whenever they are damaged. Next is the act as lever. So act as lever. Bones act as lever in our bones. These helps to do work easy and provide movements. Okay, this is the main scatter system and functions of a scatter system. After this classification of bones. So bones are the long bones, short bones, flat bones, irregular bones. This is the bones types. After this, joints. So joints also is the main types of joints. Is the classification of joint: immovable joints, slight movable joint and freely movable joints. So freely movable joints also is the main 6 types. Main is hinge joints, bar and skeletal joints, provide joints and gliding joints, saddle joints, conduit joints. This is the 6 types of freely movable joints. Okay, so dear students, I hope you are understand this topic. So any student doubtful related this topic, so after lesson also you send message me. So thank you and please read again this topic and watch video in Facebook. Thank you and have a nice day.